What's up? I'm Big Bob. Welcome to What's Up, Big Bob. We have a phenomenal guest today, Mark Lucas from Sarasota, Florida, whose expertise is mergers and acquisitions of big time real estate organizations. Does that cover it kind of?
That very kind. It's perfect.
All right. And before we start with the interview, we give a special shout out to Brenda Ringwood and the Becoming the Better You Foundation. That's how we've met each other, is through this foundation. Sarasota, Florida. What a wonderful, wonderful community. How long have you lived there?
Strangely, I've been down here twice now. So I had a very strange situation. I got down here in 2016. The first time I was here for a grand total of about 3 months, maybe a little more, 4, and had a family emergency, had to go to Dallas, Texas, thought I'd be there just a couple weeks, and it turned into 2.5 years. So I came back in 19, and I've been here ever since, and they're going to drag my cold, dead body out of this place. It's just a wonderful town. I love it. I can't imagine being anywhere else now, and so I found home.
Do you spend most of your time on the beach or the golf course, sailing, boating, fishing? What do you do?
I truly enjoy kind of all things outdoors. So I played tennis for years. I still do a little bit golf. I picked up pickleball, snorkeling, kayaking, walking on the trails. And, you get 300 and some odd days of sun a year. So you can pretty much 24/7 kind of go out and just be out into the world. So, pick your pleasure, and chances are there's a way to explore it here.
But you got a rainy season, and you got the hot, muggy summers,
Yeah.
and you got bugs. I mean, it's not that idyllic. It's not paradise 24/7, 365. There are some, because I lived in Sarasota for 2 years.
Well, for those of us who are, for those people who are scared of alligators, this may not be the town for you. Big bugs are not necessarily. If you're not a big fan of cockroaches and those sort of bugs, this may not be the right town. But as far as the heat,
cockroach is this big.
Well, right, it's a state animal actually. So again, what you find is it's just you learn how to deal with it. So the running joke I tell everybody is, who comes down here is if you see some water and it's bigger than a quarter and deeper than your toe, just assume there's an alligator in it, and you're safe and everything's fine after that. So,
right. So, are you an attorney?
I am not. Hallelujah.
So how do you do all these legal acquisitions and mergers without that legal background?
Well, okay, so a couple things. So mergers and acquisitions is kind of a funny business. To begin with, we're more of a consulting company than a full-on acquisition. So we don't actually front any money, to be clear. We're more of the bringing the various parties together and putting all the right people in the right spot at the right time to facilitate a transaction. However, having said all that, obviously there's always a lot of attorneys involved. And so over the years, I've just learned how to read contracts. I can see typically the red flags that'll kind of present themselves. And if there's any major questions, we'll pass it off to one of those parties' attorneys or our own to get some clarification.
So does one side hire you to find someone or to sell their business, and you represent one side, and then you got to go out and find the match for the other side?
Well, yes and no. Okay, so first of all, we're what's known as a boutique M&A. So that's a very fancy way of saying we only deal in one industry. In this case, it's the real estate industry, which up until REMA kind of came along, there really wasn't an M&A industry that only focused on that. So we can get into that at a different point. But what I did early on was, in my career, this is my 6th company. They've all sort of been real estate centric in some sense. And over my career, I had managed to get to know a lot of, we'll call it, influential people in the real estate space. And so when I developed REMA, I called all my friends and CEOs and buddies I knew and said, look, I'm going to do this. If I bring you a project, if I bring you a company that wants to sell, will you be part of my network? And they said, absolutely, bring it on. Like, we would love it because,
absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, there's no downside for them. So
it costs them a penny. Have you do all the prospecting?
Exactly right. So we have kind of an odd relationship with our buyers because, as you rightly pointed out, we can only represent legally and ethically one side, and 99.9% of the time that's the sellers. So our buyers network, even though they directly interact with us, let's say, we have a very strange relationship. On the one hand, we're an ally because we're out trying to prospect for companies that want to sell. But once those people are under contract with us, then the script is flipped and they become sort of adversarial. And I don't mean that in some negative way. It's just we have to represent our clients to the best of our ability. They understand that, and they play ball on their side. We play ball on our side, and everybody knows where everybody stands. As long as it's up front, then a lot of those problems get solved.
By definition, if there's a contract involved, it's almost by definition adversarial.
Exactly.
Legally, you only can represent one side.
Exactly.
You can facilitate the relationship. You can help out with the negotiations, but legally you represent one and not the final deal, just the interest of one party.
Exactly right. And honestly, I don't think I would want to do it any other way. You just can't. You would never be able to, play fair with anybody if you tried to split the difference.
So what's your average ticket? Is it a $1 million acquisition? Is it a $50 million acquisition? Is it a $1 billion acquisition?
Well, I mean, the average brokerage size across the country is something in the area of about 25 to 50 agents. That's just, if you look generically across the country, that is your average broker size. So a brokerage like that, typically speaking, and again, I'm painting with some very broad brushes here, is going to be something like $300,000 to $500,000 ish, something like that. Again,
for 25. So you're saying for 25, it's 300 each, or 300 for all of them?
No, I'm sorry. My apologies. It's for roughly a brokerage that would say be 25 to 50 agents would be something in the area. The total sale price would be something in the area of like $350 to maybe as much as $500,000 across. Again, we're painting in very broad brushes. Florida is very different than Washington, which is very different than New York, which is different than Nebraska, that sort of thing. So, just for ease of numbers. So with that being said, now we've represented teams, for example, of 10 agents, and we've also represented groups we're working with one right now that's over 3,000 agents. And that's conceivable. Wow. Yeah. I mean, you're talking millions upon millions of dollars. And so we run the gambit. Our objective is to represent our clients regardless of size with exactly the same, level of interest and professionalism that we would give to anybody else. So,
next question. Is an acquisition usually done in the same community where they're looking to build a better base, or is it in a different community where they're looking to expand their brand?
Bob, I'll tell you, the one truism to M&A is that there is no one answer for that one. I have certainly dealt with, let's say, a given community where one brokerage wants to buy another brokerage to become a larger brokerage. I've had other instances where a brokerage out of state wants to establish a footprint in a new area, and they're willing to do it that way. Again, run the gambit. I mean, there's a multitude of answers to that one. Off the top of my head, I would say most of the time it's a smaller brokerage getting eaten up by a slightly larger brokerage that wants to expand in the footprint that they already exist in
the same city.
Right. But it's probably something like, 45, 55% of that. And then the rest is, spread out. So
how many acquisitions are done because the principals don't have a succession plan, and they've discounted and dismissed a ESOP?
Far more than you might believe. In fact, that's, if you look at the industry at large, and again, I'm going to paint with some broad brushes. I mean, the real estate brokerages so the brokers themselves is one of the most aged populations in the U.S. I mean, the app more than 50%, or maybe a dribble more than 50% of the brokerages are owned and run by brokers who are well into their 60s, and most of the time, well into their 70s in some cases, or a lot of cases. This is a very aging population, but the industry itself has a problem because they've never taught brokers what the steps are to get out. They always get them in, and they always go, well, you're going to make all this money when you got your brokerage. And then 30 years goes by, they've built this great business, and they have no idea what's next. And the industry itself has never really tackled that problem. And so our jobs are not only just to do M&A. I mean, that's obviously the major focus of what we do, but we're just more of an educational tool, because a lot of times a broker will call us and go, I don't know what the hell is next. I don't know how to value my company. I don't know anything about it. Help me.
Are there many sales that are done internally where they take their key cornerstone people and offer them an opportunity to buy them out over time or for cash?
Yeah. It does happen. That's not as often. Most of the time, well, that's probably not a fair way to say that. A fair number of times, the internal staff, that's not their direction. I mean, agents and brokers, for all their similarities, have also a lot of separation. And the biggest separation is agents want to be agents. They want to be out there doing their thing in the field and selling homes and blah, blah, blah. Like, they don't want to run the company. I mean, it's like herding cats. And so, they just don't want to deal with that. The same idea would be, for example, the succession plan where, hey, my kid's going to take over. Well, you'd be amazed how many times the kids go, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, I don't want to work that hard.
Exactly.
One of the, I'm in the flooring industry, and often when a floor covering dealer buys one of their competitors, the first thing they do is they change the name on the outside of the building.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that is probably the most foolish thing you can do in the first 90 days.
Yeah.
Sometimes the other company might be a member of a large organization, have a network of its own, have its own buying power. I would recommend absorbing all those relationships, all the things on paper that might not have been accessible to you before, and maybe a year or two later, slowly do some name change, but absorb all that information first to see what happens in your industry.
Yeah, so there's, again, a lot of variation in this. So, for example, if you have, let's say, what I'll call a legacy franchise brand. So, what most people would know would be like a Remax or a Century 21 or a Berkshire or one of those. Typically, because those franchises are set up in such a way that even getting them out of their franchises is next to impossible. And that just is what it is. So let's pretend it's let's just pretend it's Remax. Selling within the Remax brand is much, much easier from our point of view than trying to sell a Remax to a competitor. It's not impossible, but again, it's just more hurdles to have to go through. And that also gives the agents a lot of stability. So you'll get, less attrition on those sort of type of deals. Remax to Remax, red to red is what we call it. Same with Century 21, gold to gold. However, on the independent side, it's Sally Smith Real Estate or something out of Sheboygan, or something along that, where they may not, unless they just have a real strong presence within the community. We don't see a lot of attrition when we maybe move them into a Fathom or an EXP or a Real or one of those. The agents are more interested in making sure that the broker that they're used to is still there, at least in the short term, as opposed to what the name is on their business card or what the brand is on their business card. Because in the same way that the agent, it becomes the centerpiece of a real estate transaction to the customer, the broker is the centerpiece to the agent. So typically speaking, if the broker sticks around and really wants to, facilitate that transition, whether it takes a month or 6 months or a year or whatever, you don't see the attrition rate as high. You're going to lose some. That's just the name of the game. But, you're trying to keep that loss down to a few percentage points, 1 or 2 out of every 60 or 70, something like that.
Mark, have you I got a potential line extension that you might want to consider. Are you open to a new idea?
Sure, bring it on.
I think you would be in a perfect position to become have a sister company that is a headhunter company for
Okay.
where you recruit and place realtors, a employment agency for high profile producers, finding them new jobs and new situations.
Okay. Well, I can tell you after 6 companies, I need another one like I need a hole in the head, but I'll at least certainly give it a go and see what we think out of it.
You know what? You could probably sell the idea to your left and right hand and
There you
say,
go.
let me just keep a taste of it for you, right? Or acquire a headhunter group
Yeah. Yeah.
because it just seems like a natural fit for what you're doing.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of bringing somebody else in. That way I don't have to spend another 20 hours a day working.
I would never recommend more work for you. I understand how important it is walking on those trails with the alligators.
Hey, you got to have something to look forward to in life. That's all that matters.
How many alligators have you ever walked up on?
Oh, walked up on? None. I never have. Now, you go to certain areas of the state around me. There's a little place out called Mayaka Park, about 10 or 15 miles outside of town, and Lord, they're everywhere. You just know where not to frequent. So,
okay. Are you married?
Yes. Yeah, 2 kids from our previous marriages, and now 2 grandkids.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm a happy man.
You're awfully young to be a grandparent.
Well, I was lucky enough to marry a woman who was slightly older than me, and which is always a good thing in my opinion, for all the unmarried men out there. And I got the right wife, and she came with a daughter who was a little older, who now has kids, and now I have grandkids. So
wait, are you saying your stepdaughter's your age?
No, my stepdaughter's about only 15 or so years younger than me. Ironically, my son-in-law and I are the same age. So my wife's on one end, my daughter's on the other, and the 2 guys are in the middle. So go figure.
It'd make for an interesting movie. So
it would.
BTBY.
Yes.
How? Why? What's your passion about it?
I got to be honest. I met Brenda. This would have been, Lord, I'd have to ask her. This is many, many years ago. I don't want to date myself too much, and I can't remember anyway. But
I'm not interested in dating you either.
That's good because again, I'm married, so she may have a problem with that one. But
relationship, right?
Yeah. So no, I met Brenda years ago, and we had a very good working relationship. And anyway, one day, some year or so later, she said, "I've got this idea for this company, blah blah blah," and she started spelling it out for me, and I instantly kind of fell in love with the concept. But I've done enough startups. I knew the challenges. Let's put it like that. And so began to help her kind of put the pieces together. And I just think that particularly if you're successful, and I would say this about anybody, but particularly successful people, look, you got to give back. You got to take those steps to help everyone around you as best you can. I mean, look, we're all busy. Thank you. I put in a lot of hours every day just running my company, trying to help my people and my little family that directly are literally my blood family, all the way to my employees. I want nothing but the best for them. But there's the extension beyond that, and that's where Brenda's group came in. And I just can't speak highly enough about it. I cannot, it truly is, I think, making a difference in the short term, right here, right now. And I think the expansion and the ideas are only going to get bigger and more pronounced as time marches on.
Service is the gift I give myself to honor my blessings.
Right.
I am just blessed to be in a position to give back.
Yes.
But I believe everybody can give back. Now, everybody might not be able to write the check as big as the check you write to a charitable organization, but everybody can walk the dogs that are in a shelter. Everybody can work in the soup kitchen. Everybody can go out and be a volunteer at a hospital or be a volunteer at the library. We all can give back to our community
Yes.
public service. And that is my gift, is I finally have the time and the motivation
Mm-hmm.
to give back. And I want to be able to inflect or encourage people to start giving back way before they hit my advanced age, because it's so much more rewarding if you start younger.
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I would even take it one step further. I mean, we always tend to look at, go help big groups. Pick somebody in your neighborhood who just needs help. Go mow their lawn or go
Help them with groceries, do their grocery
exactly.
shopping.
I mean, there are so many things that people can do on a daily basis that they just tend to stop or step right over that could really make a difference. And I would always encourage people to take those small signs and do something with them.
What a world we would live in if everybody would serve the community as a volunteer above and beyond their job.
Right.
Wow. I mean, the
Yeah.
whole world is better.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, there's a lot of volunteer organizations, and we're not reinventing anything.
Mhm.
We're just trying to expand on what everybody else is already doing.
Exactly.
There's two truisms that I have found to be true since meeting Brenda. One is everybody was or is broken.
Mhm.
We all have problems.
Yep.
Some of us have overcome them, some of us have solved them, but all of us have had speed bumps in life. And the other thing is, we all have the capacity to give back more.
Yes.
And those are the two rocks of pillars or foundation of why I feel compelled to become involved with the BTBY community. I
Absolutely.
was broken. I've tried to fix myself. I want to help other people fix themselves. And I want to honor my blessings by giving back to the community.
Yeah. I would even go one step further and say to broken people are make the best problem solvers for other people, and it helps you fix yourself as you're moving along. I mean, just because you're broken doesn't mean you shouldn't try to do something for somebody else. He may help you.
Look, the reason you and I have gotten to where we are on the mountaintops is we've avoided some mistakes. Some people have helped us. We recovered from mistakes and reinvented ourselves, and we keep climbing. A lot of people give up on this path,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no reason to give up.
Right.
But you have to be encouraged. Somebody might have to lower you the rope ladder. Somebody might have to show you the easy path. But everybody can improve their station in this world, in their life, whether it's with physical health, whether it's with financial well-being, whether it's emotional or spiritual awareness. Everybody has the potential of getting better.
Absolutely.
And that to me is the attraction of becoming a better me and helping other people become a better them.
Exactly right. No, couldn't agree more.
What's next for you and BTBY?
Well, I know what Brenda wants, and I'm going to fight that one tooth and nail because she wants me to start getting up on stage and doing financial stuff. And I'll be honest, that is just not my thing. I know my place in this world, and it is not sitting in front of a bunch of people. It's helping Brenda continue to refine her company and make it successful. That will be far more valuable to her than me standing up babbling along for 20 minutes.
Mark, make yourself a slideshow and just read the slides. I mean, that's what a lot of these public speakers do, right?
Yeah.
They put together a slideshow and says, bye, bye, and they just read their own right? So you don't have to have no stage fright, no.
Yeah, strangely, it's not even stage fright. I've been on stage before. It never bothered me too much. I mean, it's like doing podcasts and stuff. It never truly bothers me. I know what I'm best at. And what I can do the most for BTBY is to stay where I'm at and to help Brenda overcome the pitfalls that could take the whole company down in the worst case scenario, or at the very minimum, slow it down. That's where I'm truly useful. And I know my pluses and minuses in the world. And I assure you, just me doing what I do will be far more valuable than standing up on stage and,
So we have our annual convention coming up in September.
Mhm.
You going to be there?
Unfortunately, I'm not.
Unfortunately, you're coming.
No. Well, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your particular perspective, when I found out, I had already had some travel plans in the books. There's nothing I can do to change them, and Brenda didn't lay me the dates down until far too late.
Mark,
Yes.
what do you got going?
I have
to. Is it a vacation? You going water skiing someplace?
No, nothing of the kind. No, I have to be in another part of the country, and I'm helping with I have to be somewhat delicate what I'm saying. I am helping a company expand. Let's put it like that. And they're paying me a great deal of money to do so. So I can't get out of it.
Is this a lemonade stand or something? What is
a little bigger than a lemonade stand, but smaller than, 3M. So something in between.
Well, let's see. I'll tell you what. I can ease your guilt here.
Okay.
Write a bigger check.
I have no doubts Brenda would like that.
Right. I mean, don't show, but write a big check.
Okay, I'll do that for you.
I think that should be part of the policy procedures. If you don't show, you have to write a bigger check.
Is that what it is? Okay, damn. Now I got to put another zero behind it. God, I don't know.
No,
she's going to break me at this rate.
So. I just double it. Don't put another
okay.
zero.
Okay.
All right.
I can do that. So.
Do you travel much?
For business, quite a bit. Not as much for pleasure as I would like. Matter of fact, I've really only got one travel plans. It'll be just a few weeks. Actually, I'm going to visit my kids, my grand. We're going to get the whole family together, which I'm just looking forward to no end. So I haven't had the whole family together. Sorry?
Where?
Minnesota. My daughter's up there. Not the wintertime. Yay. And so we managed to get the entire family together, and we're going to spend 5 glorious days together, and that'll be the first time the whole family's been together in way too many years.
I have a prediction. Whether it's 20 years from now or 50 years from now, there is going to be a huge migration to Minneapolis, to Minnesota, to Wisconsin, North Dakota, Wyoming, Montana. And the people who were going to the Sun Belt in the winter are going to start going to the northern states in the summer. And there's going to be a huge migration out of the Gulf Coast, the Sun Belt.
Well, I can tell you from my personal perspective, it won't be me traveling that direction because I really like the warm, but I do agree that there probably is some validity to what you're saying because there's a lot of people that can't handle the heat.
There's a difference between 101 and 111.
Well, true, but we've got pools and air conditioning in the ocean and cool breezes. So it's all good. If I never see snow again, it'll be too soon.
When is the rainy season in Sarasota?
We're in it right now. The monsoon season starts in roughly early June, and then the hurricane season sort of follows about a month or two beyond that. So by mid-July, we'll start watching for hurricanes. But it's supposed to be a very light year this year. I doubt we'll even get. And Sarasota, by the way, hasn't had an actual hurricane strike in, I think, like 60 years, or maybe it's 40, something like that. I don't know the exact date, but
is it going to rain? Is it going to rain today at 4:00?
4:03. Yeah, you can expect it to. Yeah.
Have you set your clock? Set your watch on the afternoon rain.
Yeah, and then it just rains like hell for 3 hours, and the next morning you wake up and it's beautiful again.
So I used to work in St. Armand Circle.
Oh no, it was
as a waiter. Jesus, 50 years ago. 50 years ago, I was waiting tables in St. Armand Circle.
I'm not going to tell you what I was doing 50 years ago, but it wasn't waiting tables.
You probably were still in middle school trying to do something. No, it wasn't diapers. He's not that old. You're 52?
I'm 52, so I would have been 2, so she's not that far off.
Wait a second. You're 52 and you were born in Sarasota?
No, I was actually born in Oregon, but the whole family's from California.
Oh, phew. For a moment there, because
we don't look that much alike, Bob.
was just wondering, maybe, I was in Sarasota that time long ago. Maybe I'm very, very active.
Yeah, you got real nervous there for a moment, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
Just don't call me Pop. So, anyways, when do I get to see you next?
Boy, that's up to Brenda. Let's see. I don't know. When's the next time the board's supposed to get together?
Well,
Next year.
March. You can always invite me down for a visit.
Well, you're always invited. I just assumed that was open, but that's not. You can always come down.
They got big hotels in Sarasota. You can go.
Yeah, we'll put you on the boat.
You have a boat.
Well, I'm getting one. Let's put it like that.
You're getting a boat. How big a boat?
Oh, come on. I can't say that.
Is it going to sleep 2, 4, 8, 14?
Less than 14 and more than 2. Let's put it like that.
All right. Do you have to hire a captain to
No, but I do have to get my captain's license. So it's big enough that I have to do that. So.
All right. Are you going to fish off it, boat off it, or just drink on it?
Drinking. That's pretty. Now, my wife will definitely fish off of it, but I have no interest in fishing. I fished a lot as a child. There's nothing about it that really intrigues me, and so drinking, on the other hand, is always a good idea.
Fishing in the lakes of Oregon are a lot different than fishing in the Gulf of Mexico.
True, but I did do a lot of salmon fishing off the coast of Eureka, off Northern California coast as a young man. So I'm very familiar with offshore fishing. It's just not my bag. I'd much rather.
We used to have we have a store in Anchorage, Alaska, and I'd go up there periodically during the silver season, and it was like,
yeah.
I mean, it was. I don't think that the line was in the water for 60 seconds before we were reeling something.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hooked into about a 20, I think I remember back probably like 23, 24 pound salmon off Eureka, off Northern California one time. And damn near
big.
Oh, yeah. It was monster. It damn near drug me off the boat and into the water. It was just yanking me all over. It took me better part of, I think it was more than an hour, as I recall. I was, what was that, maybe 13 or 14 at the time when my grandfather took me
back, your arms, your legs, your ankles, your knees, shoulders, everything.
Yeah. You're sore for a day afterwards trying to lug in a beast like that. So
yeah. Are you into sports?
Yeah, I'm not much into watching. In fact, I tell everybody I don't even own a TV, so it's hard for me to sort of get into watching sports. But I do enjoy seriously playing them. I mean, I'll play almost anything: baseball, pickleball, running, swim. Doesn't matter. I love being active, and so that's watching sports is not my thing, but I do enjoy being out there, getting some physical exercise.
Well, here in Kansas City, we're pretty hyped up and somewhat excited about the prospects of our professional NFL football team.
Yeah,
Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, we got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so I get it. I know people do love their football in these towns, man.
They do. Mark, how do we get BTBY, and the last question, to accelerate to the point where we both feel they have the potential to hit the platforms for greater things?
Oh, Lord, that's boy, how much time do we have left in this? There's a lot of answers to that question.
17 seconds.
17 seconds. Okay. No, the honest truth is, I think BTBY, because of the way that Brenda's developing this, and there's several different platforms that if any one of them actually took off, the rest would simply get, turbocharged by default. Now, the real question that we're trying to figure out, in all fairness, is which one of these has the greatest chance for success of being the first one to take off. The rest will obviously get pulled along with it. So my personal thought on this is probably one of two different lines that seem to be doing well. One is the school line. I think, educating children in any level, whether that's sociological, economic, whatever that looks like. I think, you've got to work with the kids first. That seems to have the greatest impact, but B, probably the greatest social currency, if you will. And then the second one would be the felons to fabulous line. I think, again, helping people who have been in trouble, because we all have been, maybe not legal trouble, but we all go through, as you rightly pointed out, ups and downs. I don't care how successful anybody is. I promise you, they went through problems. This is just the reality of life.
Right, absolutely.
But I think if that's those are the two that I think stand the greatest chance of really accelerating quickly. And the others, I think, will very rapidly follow suit. It's just, those two are so important. And they're the things that seem to be in the national zeitgeist right now, of people just talking about it. We got to figure out what's wrong with the kids. We got to figure out how do we rehabilitate people who come out of jail? How do we get these kids out of these horrible situations a lot of them can be in, and make them have productive lives? And it's tough. There's no easy answer for it, but
And believe it or not, the light bulb just went off with me. 50 years ago, we didn't have these problems.
No, we didn't.
These problems are all self-made, induced by our society in the last 50, 60 years. We've done it to ourselves. And 50, 60 years ago, we did not have this criminal element as we do on the streets today. 50, 60 years ago, we were not in the middle of the pack of education throughout the world. We have self-destructed ourselves internally. Mm-hmm. And you're talking about how to fix us to get us back to where we once were.
Well, sure. In some sense, you're not that far off. Look, the honest truth is, if this country is to survive and be a leader, let's call it, in the global stage for the foreseeable future, there have to be some fundamental changes. Now, whether you say we go back to the way we were, or whether there's a new paradigm that we have to slip into, either way, we have over-incarcerated by a factor of God knows how much, and we're not teaching our kids jack. And I don't mean, I'm not disparaging anybody. I'm not trying to. Yeah.
We're not teaching them Jack or Jill.
Yeah, exactly. Or that sort of thing. So, all I can say is, but you struck on it a little earlier. And I think we sort of started down the pathway and sort of stopped, which is, look, if there was a time in this country where it was all about the community first, right? So, towns were smaller. Again, I live in Sarasota, so it wouldn't be hard for me to find a family or find a person who needs help and work with them. 50, 60, 70 years ago, that would have been the norm. And people stepped away from that and abdicated that sense of community to the government or some organization or somebody else. And they stopped just trying to help each other. If we could get back to that, it would make a huge impact, I think, on the country at large, and certainly on individuals. And in some sense, that's what BTBY is doing, because they're taking the individuals and saying, here's how you have to go going forward. How do you help people? Not just we're going to help you, and then you're going to help other people. That sort of thing. The pay it forward model.
Sign me up. When I was in first, second grade, my parents had me invite my school teacher over to the house for dinner.
Sure.
When I was young, we'd have the mailman over for dinner. Mm-hmm. We would have the milkman stop by for a big breakfast. Our society is no longer warm and comfortable like that.
Yeah. Well, and there's so much. Look, you and I could run down this pathway for the next probably 2 hours and babble away about it. But I'll even take it back to my company, for example, which is just, I founded REMA on the idea that there are brokers who have gotten to an age where they want to retire and they don't know what's next. We have to start with the principle of we want to help them get to that next step. Now, the fact that we also make money in that transaction is irrelevant to what our core principles are. And by extension, a bigger company will buy, say, a smaller company or something to that nature. The broker in there will be able to fulfill the final steps of his or her, financial or whatever dreams, their business dreams. and then they're able to move on with their life, and everybody wins. I don't know. We got to get back to something like that.
It's funny. You're finding a motivated buyer
Mm-hmm.
and hooking them up with a motivated seller.
Mm-hmm.
There's no motivation here. There's no
Yeah.
salesmanship here. It's just, let's work out the details.
Right.
I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful little shuffle you got going there, because both sides want to do the deal right away.
Right. Exactly right. Yeah.
Mark, you have been an absolute pleasure. It has been very enjoyable. Thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
And thank you very much for the invitation.
Always.
Always or never?
Always. Anytime.
If I have 2 or 3 realtors listening to this podcast, they want to get in contact with you, how do they find you?
The best way to get a hold of us is REMA, REMA.global. And that's our website, and all of our contact information is there. We're always happy to talk to brokers all over the country, in Canada and Puerto Rico, where we work. And, we love chatting and seeing what we can do to help you out.
Mark Lucid. Thank you very much, Mr. Lucas. God bless, and go Chiefs.
Go Buccaneers.